So, you're in the middle of a cold war with your husband and suddenly find out you're pregnant. How do you break the news to him gracefully? I went online for advice and decided to follow some suggestions from a user with 10 years of experience reading novels. First, run with the ball. Second, gag a bit during a meal. Third, set up an appointment for a procedure using his number. But seeing him go crazy, I realized I might have taken things too far. Good news, I'm pregnant. Bad news, we're in a cold war. How do I tell Eric without losing my cool? I posted the pregnancy test photo online and asked for advice. The responses flooded in by the thousands. Suggestions ranged from telling him the baby was frozen during our Cold War to showing up with 5 kids 5 years later and demanding he kneels for a talk. This online community, they sure know how to help a girl out. The comments kept rolling in, and I felt a little more optimistic about the world. Among the thousands of comments, a few caught my eye right away. Take the baby and run, one advised. Go to the hospital, book an appointment using his number, and then sneak to a different city to work for a day. After the initial plan part, I zoned out. At mealtime, gag a few times in front of him, then rush to the bathroom. The suggestions were as diverse as they were bold. Staring at my phone with no reply from him for ages, and recalling Eric's cold demeanor, I got annoyed and blocked him. Fine, Eric. Stay in your little world of silence. I've got a surprise for you. First step to leaving, pick a car from the garage. I zeroed in on Eric's favorite dark Bugatti supercar. To stick to the dramatic flair of a novel, I waited for Eric's busiest workday and drove off. Riding the supercar in the breeze, I thought, this is the life. Eric can deal with his own chill. The roads were clear as I headed to my friend Vivian's place with my luggage. Sprawled on her couch, I laid out my plan. I didn't expect her to burst into laughter. Nina, what on earth are you thinking? She asked, baffled. What do you have against Eric? I tried to deny it, but the reason for our Cold War was weak. Yet, this time, it's completely Eric's fault, I assured Vivian. She leaned in, ready to listen with a snack in hand. Vivian's been hearing about Eric and my arguments since college and our 2-year marriage. She's certain we never truly fight. She's already locked the two of us in her mind. Stop munching. I swatted her hand. Vivian, the strategist, pay attention to the facts here. All right, Commander Nina. The reason we're in a Cold War is more emotional than logical. It all started after I fiddled with my precious handbags and felt compelled to check on Eric, busy in his study. I crossed the bedroom and went to the study, surprising him. He was on the phone and holding a photograph when I suddenly appeared. Normally, he'd glance up if busy or pull me into his lap if not, sharing whatever dull work he had. But this time, he hastily hid the photo upon hearing my voice. Eric, what are you hiding? His evasive behavior was unlike his usual composed self. Nothing, just some clutter, he said nervously, avoiding eye contact. Eric, I know you're lying. He has a tell, tapping on things when he's dishonest. I reached for the drawer with the photo. Nothing, I said. He grasped my hands to stop me, locking the drawer quickly. What can you possibly hide from me, Eric? I felt hurt. Ever since I met him, he never shielded anything from me, even during company crises where confidential documents were free for me to see. He stayed silent, dodging my gaze. Getting upset, I tried grabbing the key from him, almost toppling over in the scuffle. Eric caught me, steadying me with frustration. How long will you keep this up, Alex? His voice was cold and annoyed. Stunned, I glared at him. If you can't handle me, go file for divorce. I stormed out. Eric didn't come after me. Men, not worth crying over. I wiped my tears, packed, and moved to the guest room. Tears stained the silk sheets. I couldn't hold back. I'd seen the photo. It was of a woman, aged but similar to me. Vivian, listening, slammed the sofa, incensed. You think Eric's cheating? She rolled up her sleeves, ready to rage. I glanced at her, nonchalant. Relax, no need to act out. She deflated onto the couch, hand on my leg. Honey, if he's wronged you, I'm in your corner. So, I ran with the baby. She lifted her arms in support. I had just finished settling at Vivian's when my phone buzzed. No doubt Chris. Definitely Eric sent him. What? You're asking why Eric isn't finding me? Well, that's because I blocked him on everything. I hung up and blocked him, just like that. Everyone around Eric got the same treatment. Sitting in the black Bentley, Eric looked at the guy on the phone in front of him, his face dark. Boss, she hung up. Call again. She's blocked me. Eric laughed bitterly. When he got home, it looked like the place had been ransacked. Nina's bags and clothes were gone, and his clothes were tossed on the floor. Worst of all, his favorite car in the garage was missing too. In an instant, Eric knew it had to be Nina's doing. I touched my face and smiled. Don't praise me. I'll get cocky. So, yeah, it's exactly what you're thinking. It's raining outside, and Eric's standing under Vivian's apartment. He knocked on the door. Nina, open up. I didn't want to deal with him, sitting on the shoe bench with my arms folded, staring at the door. Who knew? Eric actually knew Vivian's door code. The door swung open, and there he was, Eric's cold face and angry eyes meeting mine. I whipped my head around, seeing Vivian giggling slyly behind me. Vivian. Eric swooped me up off the bench, trying to take me home. Eric, I'm not going back. I clung to the side table. Nina, what's with you? Listen to me, let me explain. I stared into his eyes. Eric, do you still think I'm just causing trouble? I wriggled free, pointing to the door. I don't want to hear it, just go. Eric didn't budge, fiddling with his phone instead. So, no explanation now? I looked at the face I'd loved for so long. Did you always just tolerate me, thinking I was a bother? Eric looked up at me, suddenly showing me his phone. Right there on the screen was the cruise ship I'd loved for so long, the Princess, sitting elegantly in Victoria Harbor. Nina, the Princess, I bought it. I went silent, leaping at Eric's phone. Of course, it's the Princess. 180 million. Eric does score some points here. I held the phone, my face aching from smiling. Nina, he pulled the phone away. Can you listen to me now? I nodded eagerly. That day, I hid a photo. It was a girl who looked like you. I nodded, my eyes glued to the Princess. He lifted my chin, looking into my eyes. I didn't know her. She was just a candidate, and I hid the picture instinctively because I didn't want you to misunderstand. Lame excuse, but well, there was the Princess. Besides, I never really believed Eric would cheat, just like Vivian. Trust takes time, right? I'd never admit it's all for the Princess. Plus, I have more plans up my sleeve. I went back. As we left, Vivian leaned in the doorway, watching Eric pack my stuff. Why'd you cause all that fuss? I looked at Vivian, openly saying in front of Eric, I'm just going home. Didn't say I forgive him. All that drama made me starve. I got the housekeeper to fix a meal, ready for my next phase in the plan. I ignored Eric, eating quietly while casting glances at him. I suddenly put down my chopsticks, rushing to the bathroom. I thought I acted convincingly enough, but Eric didn't buy it. He followed me anxiously, awkwardly watching me gag. It took him a while to speak. Nina, did you eat something bad again? Huh? What on earth? Doesn't make sense. Clearly, Eric's never watched those family drama series. Wasted my acting skills. I glared at Eric, useless man. Oh well, I've got more tricks. I didn't feel like dealing with Eric. Just looking at him made me annoyed, and seeing his clothes still on the floor, I felt a bit victorious. I pretended to be nauseous a few more times, but Eric just kept asking if I'd eaten something bad. Do I really eat that much? Just a bit of spicy sticks and ice cream here and there. Anyway, ever since I found out I was pregnant, I'd stopped eating them. Really, it's just him being too dense. When Eric went to the office, I decided not to lose face and put my next plan in motion. I booked an abortion appointment at Eric's private hospital. Yep, filled in his number. Sitting outside the surgery room, I clicked to reserve the appointment. I figured the confirmation SMS had already reached his phone. I chuckled, admiring my cleverness. I also posted a TikTok. Baby, it's not that I don't love you. It's just, I don't want to bring you into a loveless home. The picture was my pregnancy report. That TikTok was only visible to him. Sure enough, Eric went nuts when he saw it. I was surrounded. I sat there, bored, looking at my phone, guessing when Eric would get there. The whole hospital seemed to fall into a weird panic and frenzy, all abuzz. Security searched every corner, finally stopping in front of me. Standing there, hands clasped behind their backs, they formed a circle. Not long after, Eric came running from the distance. It was the first time I'd seen Eric so disheveled, almost in a panic. His clothes flapped in the wind, tie slightly askew, always neat hair a bit messy. He stopped in front of me, pulling me up. Nina, why didn't you tell me you were pregnant? Why do you want to terminate the pregnancy? His eyes were bloodshot, his dark eyes staring hard at me. Why? His grip was tight, painful. I almost felt like he'd break my hand. I winced and instinctively tried to pull away. Eric thought I was resisting, tightening his grip further, pulling me into his embrace. I was just about to explain. He cut me off, sounding furious. Nina, don't even think about leaving me, and don't you dare hurt our child. Oh no. Did I take this too far? Eric took me home and sealed up the whole place. Then his tone softened. Nina, are you still mad at me? I was wrong. You can do whatever you want, just don't hurt our baby. Eric, don't be like this. The more you act like this, the more scared I get. This is too twisted, like he's some kind of sick lover. Wait a sec, I looked closely, and hold on. Were those tears in the corners of his eyes? Could Eric actually be crying? I straightened up to get a better look. Yup, he was crying. Sigh, I hugged him and patted his head. Honestly, I've never seen him cry before. It made him look quite pitiful, really. I snickered. Oops, Eric heard it. I plead guilty, making Eric laugh in anger. Eric sat beside me for a long time without saying a word. So, Nina, is that what you meant? You didn't want to lose face, so you followed internet advice and left home on purpose, even scheduled an abortion just to be dramatic? He looked completely baffled, like he just couldn't understand. I corrected him, that's called leaving with the ball. Leaving or not, Nina, have you lost your mind? Wow, I managed to tick off someone as level-headed as Eric enough to make him curse. Well done, me. Good job. Yeah, maybe I am a little crazy, with a baby growing inside me, after all. He gave me a look, calling me a smart mouth. Life didn't change much after Eric found out I was pregnant. If anything, it got more leisurely. Every day I hit up luxury stores with Vivian, but today brought an unexpected surprise. I walked into a coffee shop and found Eric sitting there. Across from him sat a woman. The woman from that photo Eric wouldn't let me see. I tightened my grip on Vivian's hand, staring right at Eric. Vivian glanced at me, then like she was catching someone red-handed, she dragged me to sit behind Eric. Don't let Nina know you're here, I heard him say. She's pregnant and can't handle this. I didn't want to hear another word. I just wanted to pull Vivian and run out of there. I'm a tough but faint-hearted person, really fragile. Eric, why are you doing this to me? You know, I'm pregnant. Vivian hugged me tight, patting my back, and said, Nina, go ahead, cry. She wanted me to confront Eric, but I refused. I can't imagine Eric looking at me with no emotion, coldly saying, Nina, I've been sick of you for ages. I also couldn't stand the thought of him pretending to be all lovey-dovey, lying that nothing's going on with that woman. Most distressing, though, was the idea that I was just a replacement for someone else. Pregnant and all, I ran away. This time, it wasn't a prank. With Vivian's help, I snuck off to a place Eric couldn't find. He'll never expect I'd come here. Go ahead and be sweet with your precious. I rolled my eyes. Seriously, don't let Nina know. What a faker. Men are such fakes. Vivian drops by often to check on me. Through her, I get snippets of info about the baby's dad. Eric hasn't stopped searching since I left, using every connection to find me. However, I clearly saw that woman near Eric in the tabloids. Seems he's slowly making her presence known. A bit miffed, I thought, rubbing my belly. Baby, your dad's a hell of an actor. So nice to us at first, but right after we leave, he's off with his new flame. Tears fell, but I wiped them away. Other people's tears might not be worth much, but mine, priceless. No way am I crying over Eric, that jerk. Before the baby's even born, I decided to find him a new dad. I posted my info on a dating site, saying so clearly, looking for a dad for my kid, and I'd give him half my stuff. I hate to part with my own little stash of money, but oh well. For the kid's sake, I'm willing to give a lot. Since posting that ad, my phone's been buzzing with Instagram requests. Ha! Some things never change. After sieving through many, I picked someone who met my standards to catch up with. I sat in a coffee shop, eyes wide open. Wait, what are the odds? Isn't this my good neighbor, Jerry? Hey, I awkwardly waved. Wow, such a coincidence. He was pretty straightforward. Not a coincidence. I planned this. Miss Nina, I've been following you for a while. I'm not here for your money. I just want to give you and your kid a home. Honestly, Jerry doesn't need my money. He's an orthopedic surgeon raking in hundreds of thousands a month. Plus, his family's the wealthiest in City A. Still, the whole I just want to give you a home bit somehow cracked me up. I couldn't help but chuckle. You're overdoing it, Dr. Jerry, but I believe you. He really is someone you can count on. After I ran off here, he quietly helped me, found me a place, brought me breakfast. He stayed next door despite having a mansion. That gave me a hint. Maybe Dr. Jerry's been into me for a while. Geez, a bit conceited, I admit. I should work on that. Not gonna stop, though. She and the kid have a home. Then an angry, yet familiar voice called out from behind me. Oh no. Eric found me. I spun around, seeing Eric standing behind me with a face full of rage. His eyes were deep and stormy, staring me down. Nina, you've got some nerve, he laughed angrily, running off with the ball twice, and now looking for a stepdad for the kid. His voice couldn't hide the fury beneath. But all I focused on was his acknowledgement of running off with the ball, an improvement, really. Off topic. This was the first time I'd seen Eric in 3 months. He was dressed sharply, even fixed his hair. Seeing him just reminded me of Don't Tell Nina, and I felt a rush of anger. I spoke coldly, where do the kid and I have a home? We don't have a home. Then, out of nowhere, he pulled a marriage certificate from his pocket like a magic trick. Nina, don't forget, we're married. Seriously, Eric must be nuts, carrying around a marriage certificate. He's unbelievable. I want to cry. But a wise horse doesn't double back to the same pasture. I stepped forward and grabbed Jerry's arm. Just in time, we can get a divorce. President Eric, you're such a nice guy. Surely you won't stop me from finding my happiness, right? Eric's eyelid twitched, and he rubbed his forehead. That was his extreme anger tell. My gut told me now was not the time to provoke Eric. I dragged Jerry away from the disaster zone, leaving Eric standing there, helplessly furious. I admitted it, the plan to find a dad for the kid was a total bust. Jerry and I stood on the street corner, both silent. After a while, I hesitantly started to speak. Mr. Jerry, I really appreciate you playing along and taking care of me these past few weeks. I closed my eyes and said ruthlessly, but I'm sorry. Jerry interrupted me, as gentle as ever. Miss Nina, there's no need to say more. His expression showed some hurt he couldn't hide, but he still chose to comfort me. He said, actually, he always knew there was someone hidden in my heart. He said, it was that President Eric today, wasn't it? If you ever feel unhappy, you can come find me, he said kindly, with understanding. Nina, I can wait for you. I didn't say anything, just shook my head. Jerry, please, don't wait for me. I stated firmly, I'm not worth it. He's not wrong. Even after all this time, I still haven't and won't easily erase Eric from my mind. Every time I woke up in the middle of the night, I'd imagine Eric looking at me, being there for me. Every time the pregnancy was uncomfortable, I couldn't stop thinking about the days Eric massaged my legs and held me as I slept. Someone like me really can't be compared to someone as sincere as Jerry, nor am I worthy of his waiting. I let out a sigh. Who even gets it? Initially, my plan to find a dad was just to fill the missing male role in our child's life. Plan tanked. Eric showed up, and now I gotta figure out my next move. Jerry, being the gentleman he is, took me back home. But guess what? Eric was standing right at my door. The place was pitch black, his figure hidden in the shadows. I stopped, about to say goodbye to Jerry, when a pair of hands dragged me out from the dark. It startled me, and I looked up. Eric, damn it, the kid's early birth is on you. Nina, don't forget you have a husband. I said coldly. Eric, I remember I left the divorce papers on the table, right? He tightened his grip on my hand. Nina, unless I agree, you're still mine. He pointed at Jerry. I don't allow you to be with him. What sort of rule is only allowing the boss to burn bridges without the people getting a say? Why is it that you, President Eric, get to have both a first love and a family? I was furious and questioned Eric. You don't allow me to be with someone else, but you got to cheat during our marriage? Why did you hide the fact that you knew I was pregnant? Why lie to me the first time? Was that photo really just an accident? Tears streamed down my face, and I choked on my words. Eric, was it fun to lie to me? Was our years together worth less than some old fling? Eric, out of all the things you said, how much was even true? I wiped my tears and went inside, wanting some peace. Eric stopped the door. Even when it pinched him, he didn't say a word, just frowned. First love? What first love? Eric brought his first love over, and the situation wasn't what I expected it to be. Eric looked puzzled at me. I didn't have the energy to answer him. You can never wake someone pretending to sleep, nor get a guy to admit he still likes his first love. Unexpectedly, I saw his first love standing around the corner. In a white dress with a black coat, looking petite and sweet. She turned her head slightly towards me, and we looked so similar. And Eric's still denying it. He even brought her here. I pointed at the woman, saying furiously to Eric, President Eric, you brought her, there's no need to pretend anymore. Suddenly, someone hugged my arm. Sister, I finally found you. Sister? Hold up, what's happening here? The plot's off. The first love turned into a delicate flower? Turns out I have a sister, a real, full-blooded sister. We stared at each other, me glaring at Eric. Just what the hell is going on? You mean, Mom and Dad secretly had you? I asked seriously, dropping my usual playful demeanor. My parents really shouldn't have been parents. When I was born, they wanted to throw me into the river just because I was a girl. Grandma stopped them, and I became a slave to the family. They had me, at 3 years old, standing on a stool cooking breakfast, at 4 cleaning the house, and little me taking care of the whole home. For the slightest issue, they'd beat and scold me. They often starved me, always tried to abandon me. Once at the market, they let go of my hand on purpose, left me at an orphanage. Grandma found me again and again, comforting me. But Grandma passed away. After Grandma passed away, they left me home alone on an ordinary evening. They locked the door, went abroad, and never came back. If it weren't for my cries waking up the neighbors, I might have starved to death in that tiny storeroom. Looking at my little sister in front of me, her hands are pale and tender, her skin like porcelain, and her eyes full of innocence and charm. She definitely looks like she's been raised with care. Rose looked at me and sincerely said, Dad had cancer a year ago. He didn't tell me about you until he was near the end. She seemed sad and said, I'm sorry, sister, I just found out about you. You must have been through so much. Hearing this, I couldn't help but reflect on my life. At first, it was really tough. I insisted on going to school and survived on minimal government assistance and part-time jobs. I pushed myself hard because I knew education was my only way out. I also understood that being a girl wasn't my fault. It was theirs. But it got better after I went to college. I met Eric and Vivian. I found love and friendship. I was content with my life. Plus, now I have a child and am finally moving toward a bright future. I stopped caring about the parents who abandoned me long ago. But why is there such a big difference, even between girls? Why do I have a sister? I wasn't sure what to do. Instinctively, I looked at Eric for help. He patted my back reassuringly, looked me in the eyes with genuine compassion. Nina. I wiped away my tears and looked at Rose. I know what's going on now, so please don't show up around me anymore. She seemed puzzled and desperate. Sister, why? I pulled Eric up, saying, I don't have a sister. I don't have parents either. I don't need them. I have my own family now. After arranging for someone to send Rose away, Eric and I sat down. Now we needed to have a talk of our own. Both of us were a little dissatisfied with each other. I felt like I didn't have the upper hand in this situation, so I decided to take the initiative. Eric, why didn't you tell me about Rose? He looked at me, hesitated, and then explained. He said that when he first found out I was pregnant, he was afraid the news would affect me, so he decided to keep it a secret until after our baby was born. I was going to tell you later, worried about you and the baby, but I knew you wouldn't let this break you, so I agreed not to hide it anymore. He sounded a bit hurt and a bit wronged, but when I came back with her, I saw nothing but divorce papers on the table. And Nina, wasn't it a bit much to toss my clothes on the floor? Okay, guilty as charged with the clothes. I just wanted to be consistent with last time when I left while pregnant. I sank further into the couch, subtly inching away from Eric. He held me still, speaking quietly. Nina, care to explain what you meant by a first love? I gave an awkward laugh. Oh, nothing. Just a misunderstanding. All a misunderstanding. Eric slapped my back. A misunderstanding? And you ran away this far. I'm doomed. We went back. Eric dragged me back to City B and threw down the gauntlet. Nina, you and Vivian are both clueless. Try pulling any stunts from now on and see what happens. Not long after, our baby was born healthy. She looked so funny at first, nothing like the perfect genes from Eric or me, so I named her Ugly. But Eric wouldn't have it. Nina, didn't I say? You're not allowed to overthink anymore. What's with that name for a perfectly good girl? Eric suggested a frustrating name. He said her full name was Jane, and her nickname was Run. He said if someday Run asked why she was named so, we were to tell her about my 2 escape adventures. He's nuts. Completely nuts. I decided to give him the silent treatment. I need to check with online folks about when to patch things up. Extra. My wife's giving me the silent treatment. The reason? Apparently, my first love. It's unfair. I swear, I'm a good guy. I just found someone who looked like my wife and did some digging into her background, but I didn't get a chance to share it with my wife yet. When I came home, my wife had vanished. She took her clothes, but left mine scattered on the floor, stomping on them a few times for good measure. Thankfully, I've got a bit of money to ease the blow and finally brought her back. But something was still off. My wife kept dashing to the bathroom from the dinner table to gag. Super worried, I blamed her for eating something bad and she just glared at me. What was that about? She thinks I don't know how she secretly orders takeout when I'm not around. Doesn't she know that without my okay, the security guards wouldn't even let the delivery guy in? I wanted to take her to the hospital, but she called me ignorant. Weird, really weird. Women are just baffling. Then came the shocker. I was in a meeting at the company when I got a sudden text. Hello, Ms. Nina, from Eric Group's private hospital. Your appointment for an abortion at 2 p.m. is confirmed. Please confirm this appointment within an hour. Ms. Nina, abortion. Confirm the appointment. I stood up abruptly. My mind was racing through the recent days with Nina. Oh, turns out she's pregnant. That explains her behavior. But why would she suddenly want an abortion? Doesn't she want the baby? Panicking, I called the meeting to a halt and rushed out for the hospital. On the way, I saw a TikTok post from her. Baby, mommy loves you, but I just don't want to raise you in a loveless home. What loveless home is she talking about? My love for her is as clear as day. I raced to the hospital and found her sitting outside of the operating room. Thank God, I made it in time. I rushed forward and wrapped her in my arms. I was gonna question her why she didn't tell me she was pregnant, but looking at her, I couldn't get the words out. As long as Nina's okay, that's all that matters. I brought her home. I wanted to tell her and the kid that it's not that I didn't love her or wasn't excited about the kid. But it feels like the whole thing's a setup. I'm truly shocked. Like, seriously. I have no idea what's going on in my wife's head. This crazy internet world messed with her. I opened the TikTok she sent me, and there were like over 100,000 comments. You horrible people online. I have to remember those IDs giving bad advice and send them a lawyer's letter. My wife stopped me, so I let it go. For the sake of my wife and child, I'd let it slide. Then my wife's sister showed up. She told me Nina's dad passed away. Good riddance, serves him right. That awful old man used to abuse my Nina. He should have been gone a long time ago. She said she wanted to see Nina. I looked at her, seeing a bit of Nina in her, and didn't know what to do. Nina's cheerful, lively, kind, innocent, smart, strong, brave. Oops, got sidetracked. Even though Nina's great, she's pregnant now, and I didn't want to risk it. I know family and her parents are deep scars and wounds for Nina. I didn't know if those wounds had healed or if touching them would hurt her again. I wouldn't gamble on it. So, I suggested to Rose to keep it quiet for now and not tell Nina. She agreed, but I felt uneasy. Nina's always been strong and decisive. I think she wouldn't want me making decisions for her. I realized Nina deserves the right to know. I can't make choices for her under the guise of caring. She's her own person. I'll never truly know her completely. I took Rose home. My wife disappeared again. There was this stark white divorce paper on the table and my clothes scattered around, with her wardrobe empty. This time, finding her wasn't easy. I went to Vivian's house multiple times but couldn't find Nina. It's like she vanished into thin air. I sent team after team looking everywhere for her, across the country and abroad. I even kept tabs on her TikTok to see if those people gave her more bad ideas. But I found nothing. 1 month, then 3. Time flew by. I started freaking out. I didn't want Nina out there, pregnant and alone. She must be so uncomfortable. She'd definitely push herself to manage, too. Finally, after tracking Vivian for a while, I got a lead. City A. I'm on my way. I made sure to look good, even sprayed some cologne. After all, besides my money, my wife loves my looks. But when I got there, my wife was on a date. A date while pregnant. I was livid. She and the guy were laughing, but her expression changed fast when she saw me. What's so funny? Haven't seen me for so long, don't you miss me? I even brought our marriage certificate to scare off any guy around her. Yet Nina said it's just perfect. She needs it to file for divorce. I was fuming. Should have just left that stupid marriage certificate behind. My wife ran off with that other guy. I waited outside her door for over 3 hours before she came back with that guy. Ugh, I'm beyond mad. The most infuriating thing is she claimed I have a first love and treated her like a stand-in. She misunderstood my relationship with Rose, didn't trust me at all. So heartbroken. I wanted to crack open her head to see what's in there. I think it's all those online folks' fault. My wife had the baby, a beautiful daughter. I think she's absolutely stunning. I told my wife, Nina, she looks so much like you. She's gorgeous. My wife got mad after one glance, said the kid looks more like me and called her ugly. She insists on naming her ugly. I decided to call the kid Run. No need to explain further, right? As expected, my wife got upset. It's all good though. I learned my lesson. When in doubt, ask online, and I get how to sweet talk my wife now, no problem.